I was very careful to leave home for work at a different time every day. I took a different route every day, and then I did the same thing on the way back home from work. And so I never saw any surveillance. I detected a couple of what we call ghosts, people I thought were following me that it turned out were not. Near the end of my tour in Athens, the British defense attaché was assassinated by 17 November. Several months later, 17 November issued a communique, which they normally did after an assassination. And they said in the communique, "Είδαμε τον megalokataskopos." In Greek it means, we saw the big spy, but we elected not to carry out his sentence because we knew he was driving an armored car and he was carrying a gun. So we elected to carry out the revolutionary sentence on the war criminal Saunders, which is what they called this poor defense attaché who they killed. You have to convince somebody that you are their best friend in the world. And sometimes that can take years. But you have to ingratiate yourself with those people to the point where they're willing to commit treason for you. They're willing to give you their government secrets, or secrets from their terrorist group, let's say, just because they like you so much. And sometimes those relationships take years to develop.
Is it really because they like you, or is it because they have some anger or some complaint with their own government?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's revenge. Sometimes it's because they love the United States, or they hate something their own government is doing. And sometimes it's just because you're a good guy and they like to hang out with you.
It can be that simple?
That simple. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So in your career, which spanned how many years?
14 plus.
Years? How many agents did you run?
I was fortunate in my career. I had some real luck in some of my postings abroad. So
you were good at it.
I had a knack for it. There were 5 that I recruited myself, and then I inherited another 3 or 4 over the years from other officers. He motioned for me to come over to the bed. So I went over to the bed and I removed his oxygen mask. And I said to him, "Shu ismek, what is your name?" And he shook his head, so I repeated it, "Shu ismek." And he shakes his head and he says to me in English, "I will not speak to you in God's language." And I said, "That's okay, we know who you are, Abu Zubaydah." And he says, "Give me a glass of red wine." And by then the doctor had walked in, and I looked at the doctor and I said, "What did he say? Did he say, 'Give me a glass of red wine'?" And the doctor said, "He's delirious." And I put the oxygen mask back on and he was out again. And then a few hours later he woke up again, he motioned for me to come over. I moved his oxygen mask and he said, "Please, brother, kill me. Take the pillow and kill me." And I said, "No, I'm not going to kill you. We worked hard to find you. We have plans for you," meaning we wanted to debrief the guy. And then later, as he was more coherent and awake for longer periods of time, we started talking about other things. He was upset that, he understood the consequences of this capture, obviously. He was upset that he would never get married. He was upset that he would never have children. He would recite poetry that he had been writing in this journal that he kept. We talked about Christianity versus Islam. And at every opportunity, I urged him to cooperate. And I said, "Look, I'm telling you, with all seriousness, you have to cooperate. Your life can be easy or it can be hard, and it's entirely up to you. But I'm telling you, you have to cooperate." And, he was non-committal. Obviously, he was traumatized. But the only fear he expressed was when I told him we were going to move him. I said, "A doctor's coming from the United States. We're going to move you to a hospital, and you're going to get the best medical care in the world." He was very frightened at the idea. He actually asked me to hold his hand while we took him to the plane that came in to transport him. So he was upset enough that the doctor gave him a sedative, and he was out. It took 6 of us to load him onto the plane, and he went on to his next destination, and I never saw him again.
Was that the conversation you expected to have with this man who you were hunting down?
No, not at all. I expected an irrational, radical, hate-filled, hardcore terrorist. And what I got was a frightened young guy who realized he was in way over his head, had made terrible mistakes, and was going to pay for it.